I noticed the previous ambassador. 2 more years.
Your kind attention, please. We are about to begin. United Nations Association of Bangladesh has arranged this small but important gathering to observe the 79th United Nations Day. Mahabubul Mukaddam Akash, a renowned economist in Bangladesh and a retired professor of economics, University of Dhaka, Dr. Mahabubul Mukaddam Akash, kindly agreed to present the keynote address. We have among us also Mohammad Morshedur Rahman Talukdar, Director, United Nations Wing, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Government of the People's Republic of Bangladesh. He will be with us as a special guest. And one of the Vice President of United Nations Association of Bangladesh, eminent educationist and researcher, Professor Mansur Musa, Vice President of UNAB, will preside over the symposium. May I request the President of the symposium, Professor Mansur Musa, the special guest, Mohammad Morshedur Rahman Talukdar, and keynote speaker, Dr. Mahabubul Mukaddam Akash, to kindly come to the dais. Honorable guest, members of the diplomatic corps, representative of the media, members of the United Nations Association of Bangladesh. It's an honor and pleasure on my part to welcome all of you here. As many of you know, the United Nations Association of Bangladesh is observing this very United Nations Day since Bangladesh won the Liberation War in 1971. The then Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Uthand, termed the genocide of Bangladesh as one of the darkest chapters in human history. The United Nations, especially its relief-related agencies, held the war refugees and subsequently UNRWA started operation in Dhaka just after the independence of Bangladesh. So Bangladesh was with the United Nations, and also the United Nations was with the Bangladesh since Bangladesh started its journey. And in last 50 years, Bangladesh played important roles in UN activities, including Security Council and particularly in peacekeeping operations. As all of us know, Bangladesh has turning points in its own historical journey. Most recent of them is mass uprising of 2024. We have a new government and new political vision. Instead of all these changes, all the subsequent government of the Bangladesh are with the United Nations. This is a very important national unity on international matters. Bangladesh always wanted a strong United Nations which would not fail in preventing the war in the Palestine, which can condemn Netanyahu's action, which can prevent war in Ukraine, etc. And also an UN which reflect the opinion of the people, as the UN Charter start with the peoples of the Bangladesh, not only the wish of the big powers. With these words, I welcome you once again and humbly request the keynote speaker, Dr. Mahabubul Mukaddam Akash, to present his address. Dr. Mahabubul Mukaddam Akash.
Thank you, everybody, for giving me this opportunity to be the keynote speaker on the 79th UN Day celebrated here. Let me start my address, which I have written, and it is already with you all, so I will just read it out. Dear President, the Honorable Representative of UNO, dear special guest, distinguished guests, friends, and all those who are present in this hall. Every year, UNO celebrates its day of the year since its birth. This year we are celebrating all over the world simultaneously the 79th birth anniversary of UNO and the 79th UNO Day of the year in our country. Our country and the whole world is today undergoing a tremendous sense of uncertainty everywhere. To mention the most two immediate issues from our own perspective, the question is, what should be the pathway for a peaceful transition to a democratic regime in our country? Will it be smooth, peaceful, and without any unnecessary delay? Or again, tragic bloodshed and conflict would come up? The more dangerous international question is whether the world is at the very moment on the verge of a widespread war in the Middle East, which may not remain confined to Israel and Palestine, and may lead even to a regional warfare, and then ultimately to a third atomic world war. Unfortunately, we all know very well this time each human being will be destroyed by it, and this time it may have a chain effect and end up with a result of complete annihilation of all parties involved in the war, including many of us present here today. My apprehension may sound dramatic, but if you remember that both sides of the war are equipped with atomic bombs, as well as supported by quite a number of friendly countries who are also equipped with the same, then you may easily be similarly apprehensive. This year, the theme of UNO Day is, I quote, "The world needs the UNO, the UN needs us." This does not require any further elaboration, but still I will delve into some minimum analysis of this theme as the occasion demands it. We all know UN was constituted by global players for definite purposes. It was written in its earliest charter that it will maintain world peace, maintain good relations between countries, promote cooperation in solving the world problems, and finally encourage the respect for human rights, both economic, political, and civil rights. During the past journey of 79 years, UNO had a mixed record of success and failures in these areas. For example, UNO could not stop all kinds of aggression or war, or terrorist attack or genocides. But in every such case, the issue was at least raised in the General Assembly of UNO for discussion, and it was discussed in a transparent, democratic manner, with the opportunity to listen to both sides, the perpetrators and the victims, the weak as well as the strong. And that helped the world community to know the tidbits of the complex issues and take up an informed, rational position, the world could then actually know who among the involved was or were in the wrong side. But it is also true that not always UN could push its rational and or majority verdict forward because of the non-democratic veto system. But still then, we did get a just majority voice heard from the platform of the UN. We can only hope that in the long run, that collective rational voice from the UN platform might create a new force of international public opinion across the world. That is, among the public in general. For example, in the past, the Vietnam War, and in this year, the Palestine aggression by Israel was exposed by UN observers in such a manner that it helped to raise the people's voice against their own respective governments, that is the governments of Israel and USA, the people from there, in both Israel and USA, and also all over the world. So let us not be in doubt that we need UN, despite its many unsuccessful resolutions or high-blown speeches unsupported by corresponding deeds. But I am not a one who blows off UN with a foo and designate it as merely a talking shop. After all, democracy essentially works through free and fair public discussion or talks. And UN at least provides a platform for that. But after saying so, we also need to put our demands upon UN and put pressure on it to do its expected tasks more strongly and steadfastly. But here we need to support UN financially, materially, and with human resources from our side too. UN is collectively owned by us and not a foreign body. Some failed states in Africa actually had needed the services of UN as a last resort in the past and demanded such a support, and UN provided it with the resources supplied by the member states. An interesting example is that of our army personnel who are now serving in the failed state lands as a UN force to restore peace there. This is a good example of multilateral and mutual need fulfillment via the agency role of UN. We need UN and UN needs us too. But besides the world peace issues or issues of negative politics or violence, UNO and its various organs can also help developing countries to fulfill their economic, social and cultural needs by promoting not only civil political rights or democracy, but also through fulfillment of all kinds of human developmental rights. This type of comprehensive right-based initiatives from UN can be actually much more beneficial for the developing countries like us. And during the last 79 years, UN had also developed specialized agencies and various programs for carrying out such developmental activities to develop human capacities or capabilities of the member countries. Development programs of UN. In this world, everywhere we see there are working several specialized international developmental agencies of UNO with their respective domestic partners to fulfill the developmental needs of every human being there. We all possibly know about SDGs or Sustainable Development Goals, promoted by UN and accepted by all the countries, including our country too. These relatively specific time-bounded goals are related to the material, social and cultural welfare of everybody, irrespective of his or her class, caste, race, religion, and gender position. In other words, it is necessarily against all kinds of discriminations akin to our present Boishommohim Bangladesh slogan. These universally accepted goals of human development have been providing a suitable advocacy platform for social mobilization of youths and other sections of the society around them. But a large-scale social movement from the bottom for realizing the social, economic, and environmental developmental targets in Bangladesh is yet to take off. The political commitment of the state for supporting these people's initiatives were not always positive and strong. Recently, after the change in the political power, new hopes and aspirations to use the UN and peoples for forming SDG platforms for the comprehensive development of everybody has been rejuvenated. Recently, the chief of our present interim government, Dr. Yunus, has also advocated in the last UN meeting the 3 universal development goals of zero poverty, zero unemployment, and zero carbon. They are more novel than real, and perhaps more ambitious than that of the SDGs. But altogether, they may move along with the SDGs in the same direction for an ideal, just, and peaceful world. Let us hope for the best. However, I want to reiterate that these global 3 zero goals are very easy to proclaim, but very hard to realize. They will require a coalition of suitable international and national forces inside and outside the country, and they should be prepared to go for many radical socio-economic policies for structural change in order to realize them. And these goals are not as short-run as the interim regime of Dr. Yunus might be. But initiatives for preparing the suitable reform agendas can be taken in the various fields of SDG for human development, even in the short run. The following 6 prominent UN agencies are now working all over the world to realize a comprehensive paradigm of human development, from where should arise many concrete reform agendas for us, and we can therefore get many inspirations, guidelines, and help from the work of these UN agencies. After all, we do not need to rediscover Spade. The UN agencies that can help us in this regard and to whom we can request for help are 1. FAO, Food and Agricultural Organization, born in 1946, has been working for eradicating hunger and agricultural development. 2. ILO, International Labour Organization, also born in 1946, working for protecting the labor rights. 3. WHO, World Health Organization, born in 1948, working in the health sector. 4. UNESCO, born in 1946, works for the development of education, science and culture. 5. UNCHR, born in 1950, the UN Refugee Agency has 74 years of working experience, now working in the Rohingya sector of Bangladesh. 6. UNICEF, born in 1953, works for fulfilling the humanitarian and developmental needs of children. So it is clear that we need the help from all these agencies to improve the lot of our citizens. But the first step towards this would be to adopt all the international covenants brought into existence by these organizations till now. That part has been done, and these covenants were mostly morally accepted by the past and present regimes as well. Although in a few selected areas, especially the labor front, there still remains a few controversies between ILO ideal prescriptions and our current labor laws. However, once the standard laws are accepted, we should then be turning them into legal compulsion for the state and create a set of duty holder institutions to fulfill those rights. The Constitution of Bangladesh that was achieved by our past glorious liberation war in 1971, although has a few limitations of its own in its present form, but at the same time still contains a very well-written, socially sound chapter on fundamental economic and social rights of the citizens. There we have recognized as fundamental moral rights of each and every citizen for minimum food, minimum clothing, minimum education, minimum health, minimum shelter, and minimum security. This is in complete harmony with the SDG goals of UN, and all the UN agencies are bound to help everybody for achieving them universally. So the current government of Bangladesh may now come ahead to realize these primary socio-economic rights of everybody in our country and take the help of UN to realize them. UN has traversed a long journey for 79 years after its inception in 1945. Since then, there has been a mixed record of success and failure, but still during this long journey, it has proved before the world that UN and the countries of the world have always mutually needed each other. UN has always highlighted the goals of peace, freedom, development, and democracy, the highest and evergreen ideals of mankind. With this I end. Thank you all.
On behalf of the organizer and the audience, I like to thank Professor Akash for his observation and suggestions presented in these papers. As you may know, we used to print these proceedings of these meetings, and so here maybe you have 60 or 70 people, but we shall publish 5,000 copies of these proceedings, and we can hope that it will go to 50,000 people. Thank you very much. Now, it's an honor on my part to invite Mohammad Morshidur Rahman Talukdar, Director of the UN Wing, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Government of the People's Republic of Bangladesh, who is the special guest on this occasion to deliver his speech. Mr. Morshidur Rahman Talukdar.
President of today's symposium, eminent educationist, Mr. Mansur Musa, keynote speaker, eminent economist, Dr. Mahbubul Muqaddem Akash, Secretary General of United Nations Association of Bangladesh, Soed Muhammad Shahed, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. A very good evening to you all. It is a clear, great honor to stand before you today as we celebrate UN Day, a day that symbolizes the enduring values of peace, human dignity, and multilateralism. I extend warm greetings to everyone gathered here and to all those working to uphold the ideals of the United Nations. This year is particularly special for Bangladesh as we mark the 50th anniversary of our membership in the United Nations. On 17 September 1974, Bangladesh was welcomed into the UN as its 136th member. Our journey with the UN, however, began even earlier, with the UN launching relief operations just a week after our independence in 1971. The UN has been a steadfast partner in our journey of rebuilding, from clearing the sunken vessels blocking our Chittagong port to supporting the transformation of our economy. Over the last 5 decades, from a new entrant into the UN, Bangladesh has risen as a formidable voice for the global south, a staunch advocate for the oppressed and a champion of peace and justice. Our commitment to multilateralism is rooted in the very principles of our constitution, which echo the ideals of the United Nations Charter: respect for sovereignty, human rights, and the peaceful resolution of conflicts. Bangladesh's leadership in global peacekeeping is unparalleled. We are proud to consistently rank amongst the largest contributors to the UN peacekeeping operations. Over 168 Bangladeshi peacekeepers have made the ultimate sacrifice in the service of global peace, standing as symbols of our unwavering dedication to international stability. Our efforts go beyond peacekeeping. Bangladesh played a catalytic role in the adoption of the historic UN Security Council Resolution 1325 on women, peace and security. We believe that sustainable peace is only achievable when women are included in the peace process, a message that Bangladesh has continuously championed at the UN. Human rights and humanitarian values are at the heart of our identity. Our nation was born out of a struggle for justice, dignity, and the fundamental right to self-determination. Today, we stand proud as a nation reborn that has acceded to all 9 core human rights treaties, including, most recently, the International Convention for the Protection of All Persons from Enforced Disappearance. Our vision of development is inextricably linked to the ideas of peace and justice. We have been at the forefront of climate diplomacy, advocating for most vulnerable nations affected by climate change. Bangladesh's role in the recent adoption of the UN General Assembly resolution seeking an advisory opinion from International Court of Justice on climate justice demonstrates our commitment to the cause. In today's world, the challenges that we face are global in nature, whether it's climate change, digital security threats, or the complex geopolitics of our time. The role of the UN has never been more critical. Bangladesh firmly believes in the power of collaboration action. As we look to the future, we support the call for a revitalized UN in the more inclusive, transparent, and responsive to the evolving needs of the global community. Our work at the UN has also extended to tackling new age challenges, from AI-powered security risk to cybercrime. We believe that responsible governance frameworks are needed, and Bangladesh is eager to contribute to these global conversations. As we confront the crisis of our time, whether the ongoing Rohingya crisis in Bangladesh or the rising violence in Gaza and Lebanon, we must remember that the world looks to the UN for bold leadership and decisive action. Bangladesh remains committed to being an active partner in building a more just, peaceful, and equitable world. Together, let us ensure that no one is left behind in our collective journey towards sustainable progress. In the words of Dag Hammarskjöld, the UN was not created to take mankind to heaven, but to save humanity from the hell. It is with this spirit Bangladesh reaffirms its dedication to the United Nations, and we look forward to the continued collaboration between our nation and the august body. I thank you all.
I like to thank Mohammad Murshidur Rahman Talukdar for his speech. Here I like to mention that UNAB works in close cooperation with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs since its inception in 1972. Our founder president was Mr. Abdul Samad Azad, who was then the Foreign Minister of Bangladesh. And while Dr. Kamal Hussain was the founder chairman of UNAB. We also like to express our gratitude for the financial assistance extended to UNAB by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Thank you, Mr. Murshid. Now, I like to invite Chair of this symposium, Professor Mansoor Musa, Vice President of UNAB. Professor Mansoor Musa.
Excellencies, distinguished audience, and today's speaker. Sorry. I will not be able to speak very well today because of my disability in speech. But I will congratulate Dr. Akash for presenting a very elaborate and succinct paper about the utility, function, history, and limitations of the United Nations organization. And I have nothing to add. And at the same time, our present position in the world body, as explained by Mr. Murshidul Rahman Talukdar. He is a newcomer. We welcome him to Bangladesh, and we are very happy that he could join us today. I have a few things apart from the paper. So when the war starts and when it ends, War and Peace. You know, War and Peace is a novel written by Tolstoy. So when the First World War started and when it ends, when the Second World War started, it's very difficult to demarcate the line of war. And my feeling is that we are going through a Third World War. I don't know, I see some people somewhere sometimes say that we are going through Third World War, because if you see the war situation in the world, Middle East, Ukraine, and in South America, even within the state, the most powerful states are not abide by the rules and the doctrine of UNO. You know, we are now talking about reforms in Bangladesh. Sometimes I feel that we need to talk about the reforms of UN, because when UN started, there was 5 big power who has veto power. Now, but there is change in that now there is no Soviet Union, but still the Russia have the right to veto. So this is an anomaly within the structure of the United Nations. That must be reviewed, whether this kind of veto power should be there, because now we see that any general issue, the big powers are taking sides, and with the same structural position of 1946. So I think in order to make UN more effective and more powerful, we need the reform in its structure. And now if you see, particularly more depressing thing in the world is what is happening in Middle East, particularly in what Israel is doing to the people of Palestine, Gaza, Lebanon. It's unprecedented in the world. Even in Bangladesh, genocide has a sort of limitation of war. Now it's unlimited. Akash mentioned about the uncertainty. Uncertainty is everywhere. Now war is just spreading from Israel and Palestine. Now it's spreading towards Iran. And Ukraine war is also continuing. So war is more spreading because of the powerlessness of UN. You might have seen the UN Secretary General. He is trying his best to ask the big powers to control the arms supply to but no, they are not listening to that. So the main problem in the world, Akash mentioned about atomic bomb. I am not going to that. But other arms, the main problem in the world and main problem related to war is arms. So if you can't control the arms or arms production and arms supply and arms business, it will be impossible for UN to control the party that are doing that. So particularly the big powers, if you see, we are very, we must say that I think UN is the part of the humanity that is trying to develop human dignity and human values, but who are destroying that? Most of them are those parties who have more power, and they are having a double standard. In the one sense, they are saying that you make ceasefire. Blinken visited Middle East 11 times with no effect. So these are just outside things. If you supply war weapon, then war will continue. So there must be a positive and bold step from the countries who are members of the United Nations to say that this double standard must be abolished and veto system must be reorganized. I would not take your time, and I must stop here. I'm thanking all of the parties, particularly their paper presenter and those who are coming. I am very happy that today, with all our limitations, we could organize these things. There is one thing here, Akash mentioned about the present regime of Dr. Yunus. Dr. Yunus was the student of economics department, the department Akash came from. But I have not seen Dhaka University or the Department of Economics to say, to congratulate him for his being Nobel laureate. We must correct ourselves in our behavior. Might be some political things here, but now we have the opportunity to say good thing and bad thing. And this is my, I hope I'm not hurting anybody, but Bangladesh is trying to stand up, and we need help of the UN, help of the other countries to help us to stand up and to get back our prestige in the world. Thank you very much.
Before we formally conclude, I like to thank the keynote speaker, Dr. Akash, special guest, Moshedur Rahman Talukdar, chair of the meeting, my teacher, Professor Mansur Musa, the members of the diplomatic corps present here, members of the media, and all the guests, including the members of the UNAB, to kindly participate in this program. I have the honor to invite you to join us over a cup of tea. Thank you.